So, I will continue to discuss in our reporting. So, I will going to report the teacher-centered instruction, pros and cons. But in this, my part is only the cons, no? So, according to our PowerPoint presentation, as we can see, we have five, no? We have five cons in teacher-centered instruction. The first cons that we have is the student don't learn to collaborate with other student, missing opportunities to share what they have learned, no? Talaga naman na if we only focus to the teacher-centered instruction, hindi talaga magkakaroon ng student to collaborate with their peers, hindi sila magkakaroon ng, hindi sila makabuild ng relationship, ng collaboration to their student, to their co-student, because of this teacher-centered. That's why it is very important din na i-balance yung tinatawag natin na the teacher-centered and the student-centered. So, for them, no, kung ikaw a teacher, binigyan ka ng opportunity, so, why not bigyan mo din yung student mo ng opportunity to interact with their peers, no? And also, it is missing opportunities to share what they have learned. Hindi naman pwede na ikaw lang, na teacher, nag-share ng knowledge, nag-share ng mga idea sa kanila, but you need also to tignan din yung ano yung natutunan nila, which they can share to others, no? Give them the opportunities, give them the stage, or give them the time to express or to share what they learn, no? Most especially sa discussion, no? So, para in that way, makabuild din sila ng relationship with their peers and also sa kanilang teacher or the instructor. So, the second is, student don't use their communication skills. Yes, tama naman, no? Siyempre, sabi nga nila, pag ang teacher-centered ang palaging ginagamit during sa mga discussion or during sa klase, di talagang hindi magagamit ng student yung communication skills nila, hindi nila mai-improve or ma-develop yung tinatawag natin na self-confidence ng student. Na this is the cons this is yung disadvantage din ng teacher-centered, no? At hindi naman pwedeng ikaw lang nag-build ng communication skills mo, no? Dapat give and take, no? So, kung ikaw nag-share ng knowledge, then allow your student also to share what they learn then, and also to improve their communication skills, at para din ma-improve yung kanilang mga self-confidence. So, the third is, this type of instruction can be boring for student. Yes, no? Boring talaga, no? Hindi man pwedeng oo, it's their kalipay, though maging happy sila because hindi sila nagkakaroon ng papel sa discussion. But then again, we always remember na ang mga kabataan, they need to to share din, or kinakailangan din nila na magkaroon ng yung interaction sa teacher and the students, no? Boring talaga pag ang teacher lang ang always discuss. Boring talaga kung teacher lang always ang nagasalita in front. So that's why it is very important na hindi talaga mawawala dapat in our teaching. Oo, though sometimes we are using this teacher-centered, but we always remember, no, that we are not the students na kinakailangan natin ng mga ganito, no? So, yung student is talagang isa sa mga nangangailangan ng ma-practice nila ang kanilang mga communication skills, ma-practice nila kung paano ba magsalita sa harap, for them naman, para sa kanilang paglaki, no? Andun yung self-confidence nila to face a lot of people, then they share what the idea that they have, no? And the fourth is teacher-centered instruction does not empower learners autonomous study skills and subsequently lifelong learning skills, no? Teacher-centered instruction does not empower learners. Yes, true, no? Kung teacher-centered always, no? Ikaw lang yung nagkakaroon ng knowledge. Okay, ikaw lang nagkakaroon ng ganito. No? Because ikaw lang palagi nagsasalita, because ikaw lang palagi ang nasusunod, di ba? So, ang teacher-centered talaga instruction does not empower learners. No, hindi talaga. Sino kaya yung mga teacher, yung mga guro nyo na palagi na lang teacher-centered always, no? What do we think? Hindi talaga ma-empower yung learners. No, hindi i-empower yung mga sarili nila. Malay natin, may mga skills pala sila, may mga knowledge, stock knowledge pala sila about what we are discussing, no? So, that's why hindi talaga nakakatulong minsan yung palaging paggamit ng teacher-centered instruction, no? Dapat sabi ko nga kanina, dapat balance yung teacher-centered and yung student-centered, no? And the last cons that we have in the teacher-centered is teacher-centered does not allow students to express themselves and direct their own learning. Yan. Na makikita natin na hindi naman pala puros mga advantage ang meron sa teacher-centered, but also meron din tayong tinatawag the disadvantage of using this teacher-centered instruction, no? Does not allow students to express themselves. Tama, no? Kung teacher-centered kasi, syempre, ikaw lang talaga. Gusto mo ikaw lang. Okay, ganito, discuss ka lang ng discuss sa student mo, no? So, student mo, they will going to follow what you say. Ang gagawin lang nila is to listen, no? Because hindi nila ma-share ang kanilang ideas is because nga teacher-centered will always one of the speaker. Yan, one of the speaker ng isang discussion. That's why hindi talaga maka-express, no? So, yun. This is the cons of the teacher-centered instruction. So, let's proceed to the differences between teacher-centered versus student-centered. No, hindi naman, sabi ko nga kanina, hindi man pwede nga teacher-centered always ang ginagamit, no? But we should always be both use the student-centered. But before that, ano ba yung student-centered? Ito naman, kung ang teacher-centered instruction, it is the teacher's only one of the speaker, no? During the discussion, na talagang andyan sa kanya yung nasa kanya yung decision, no? Kung ano ba ang gagawin niya, and more on teacher talaga yung nagdi-discuss, no, dito sa teacher-centered instruction. And yung student centered naman, it is yung nagkakaroon sila ng voice to speak out what they learn. They share their thoughts, their ideas, and also nagkakaroon sila ng confidence to interact with their peers. Like for example, doing the group activities, no? That is one of the example of student-centered instruction, no? Through the groupings, nagkakaroon sila ng relationship na i-share talaga yung mga ideas nila, and also they can express themselves through student learning centered, no? So we have here the makikita natin the difference between these two centered instruction, which is the teacher and the student. So let's first see what is the differences between this. So we have the teacher-centered and we have the student-centered. So number 1, in teacher-centered, have this focus is on instructor. No? When we say instructor, it is a teacher. Instructor or teacher, isa lang po yan. So ang focus ng teacher-centered is nasa instructor only. Yun yung sabi ko. Only the teacher is the focus of the sa discussion, focus ng teacher-centered is yung instructor only. While the student-centered focus is on both student and instructor. No? Hindi lamang, nasa student-centered, hindi lamang pala student ang nagkakaroon ng focus. But then again, they are both focused, the instructor and the student. Yun, yung pagkakaiba nila between these two. Next is, instructor talks, student listen. Yun, yung sabi ko. Pag teacher-centered talaga, usually, is only the instructor or the teacher will talk in front and the student will only listen what you have shared to your student. Yun lang talaga ang ginagawa ng teacher-centered. While in student-centered, student interact with instructor and one another. No? So, yun yung pagkakaiba nila. Ang student nag-interact sa instructor and at the same time, nag-i-interact din sila with one another. No, hindi lamang sila nag-focus sa instructor, but then again, they are building the interaction between the co-student nila. Next is, we have the instructor work alone. When we say instructor work alone, it is the teachers is the only one, no, na gumagawa ng ganito. Si teacher is the only one na nag-i-implement na activity na ito. Si teacher or the instructor is one of nag-iisa lang siya to create an activity or a task, no? Instructor work alone. Yun. And the student-centered naman, student work in pairs, in groups or alone, depending on the purpose of the activity. Kasi may sometimes the teacher is implement the activity individually, which is ito yung work alone ng student, and student work in pairs, which is yung tinatawag natin na sometimes nagkakaroon ng teachers ng find your peers, no? Ganon. And also, pwede din na-implement ng teacher yung group activity. Yun. Depending on the purpose of the activity that the instructor will give to their student, no? Talagang dito naman, si teacher is isa talagang isa sa mga sa hago, no? Isa sa mga nahihirapan to implement the activity kasi siya lang nag-iisa. Pero unlike the student centered, talagang marami sila, no? So, yun yung mga differences nila. So, the fourth is instructor evaluates student learning. Yes naman, hindi naman pwede nga ang student ang mag-evaluate ng learning ng teacher, no? Hindi naman pwede yun. So, the instructor talaga will the one to evaluate the learning of the student if may natutunan ba sila during the discussion, ano ba yung mga na i-apply nila sa kanilang natutunan, paano ba nila ito na-apply, ganon ang sa teacher-centered. So, sa student-centered naman, student evaluates their own learning. Yes. They can also evaluate themselves, no? Pwede din naman na ma-evaluate nila ang kanilang own learning. Instructor also evaluates. Okay, they are both pala. They are both pala na nag-evaluate ng kanilang learning. So, dito sa student-centered, siguro the instructor also evaluates through the use of yung tinatawag natin na evaluation for the teachers evaluation. Yon. And meron naman pala tayong tinatawag na students evaluation. Yan. So, dito sa student-centered, din-evaluate ng student ang teacher through the use of yung checklist good. Yan. Yun yung usually na ginagamit nila. Kung talagang nagkaroon na achieve ba ng teacher yung standard na ina-expect. So, kung talagang andun ba, na-achieve ba ng guro yung mga nasa checklist na yon. So, yun pala, they are both nag-evaluate ng kanilang learning, no? Nagkaroon or they're same nag-evaluate the student and the teacher. So, the last is classroom is quiet. Yes, pag si teacher lang talaga na-discuss, I know na we experience this na if si teacher nagsasalita sa harap, okay, talagang behave, talagang walang ingay, na talagang they only listen, no? Even I experienced this na pag once si teacher ganya ang nasa harap, most especially yung mga teacher na talagang, na talagang mataha ka, yun, talagang quiet talaga yung classroom. Yun yung pinagkakaiba ng teacher-centered. Sa student-centered naman, yes, na talagang, na expected natin na ang classroom is often noisy and busy. Yan, pag student-centered, no? Pag student gani ang sa room, no, talagang very noisy, na talagang hindi mo alam kung ano bang nangyayari, parang nasa palengke pag student-centered. No, that is the differences between the teacher and the student-centered. But we talagang may experience natin itong mga bagay na ito, no? So, sa student-centered, marami talaga, even I, no, nakarelate talaga ako dito, and also the teacher-centered, relate lang natin ang sarili natin, masarili ko if nasa posisyon na ako ng pagiging teacher. So, this is the differences between teacher-centered versus the student-centered. So, hope na may natutunan tayong lahat. And talagang isa sa mga dapat din natin malaman kung ano ba ang mga teacher-centered na ano ba yung mga naroon sa teacher-centered. So, hope na may natutunan tayo, and also hindi lamang may natutunan, but then again, we should always apply this in our life, no? As a future educator, at least we all know these things na talaga ma-aware din tayo, no? So, thank you so much for listening. Hope na marami pa tayong matutunan, most especially sa other reporters na naman. So, God bless us all. So, that's all for today. And thank you and God bless.